Hey everybody, John Foss, CW Twin Cities. I am talking with Steve Wilkos. We're talking about the Steve Wilkos Show, which airs weekdays right here on the CW Twin Cities at 2 o'clock. Steve, 14th season, you're going strong. Tell us what we're going to see right now on the show.
Well, it's interesting because I was kind of nervous about coming back to the season, worrying about what type of stories and shows we were going to get. Because we're living in a world where there's, producing the show is totally different than what we did 6 months ago. But what we have transitioned to the last couple of years is we are doing a lot of shows, stories that are going through the legal system as we're taping them. So you really get some interesting results from the lie detector test. We've actually had a couple crazy confessions happened since we started taping last month in September. So I think when you tune in, you're not going to miss any of the explosiveness, the confrontations that we've had on our show. And I think that's really helped our shows because, all our guests aren't, doing VCC, which, through the video. We have our guests in studio. We're doing some VCC, but most of the time our guests are in studio. And so I think people are pleasantly surprised when they tune in that they're still seeing the Steve Wilkos Show that they've been used to watching for the past 13 years.
How have you been able to do that, and what kind of changes did you guys have to make based on the current pandemic?
Well, there's so many different changes. One was, like everybody in my staff, including myself, we have to go in and get the swab test, up the nose every Monday, and then we start taping Tuesday. Everybody, to make sure that nobody's COVID positive. And then our guests, we live in the New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, tri-state area. So we really are not allowed to fly people in. So we have to transport them in through, cars or trains or things of that nature. And then our guests who, when we normally flew them in, they would, be able to go out in Stamford, Connecticut, to go out to dinner, do some things, have fun before they would do the show. And when they come in, they have to be in the bubble. We bring everything to them. They have to stay safely away from everything. So it just, we're doing just like Major League Baseball. The players had to stay in their room and live in a bubble. That's how our guests are. They have to stay in the bubble. And just being in studio, you see everybody wearing the face masks and the shields. And so it's kind of crazy. But, that's what we're dealing with until we get ahead of this virus.
And last time we talked to you, you announced to our audience that your wife had breast cancer and that your father-in-law had COVID. I know personally I've been praying for your family. I know a lot of your fans have been as well. Tell me, is there an update on that?
Unfortunately, my father-in-law did pass away from COVID, so that was kind of hard on my wife. Mm-hmm. And my wife actually is doing very well with her cancer treatments. She got through with, she's all done with chemotherapy, and she gets an infusion in her port every month, and she's only got 2 more months. So November, December, and then after that, it's fingers crossed that it doesn't come back. But she's doing really well, and the prognosis is great, and I thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, great news on your wife, and very sorry to hear about your father-in-law. So we'll definitely be keeping your family in our thoughts and prayers. So thanks for the update. And one other thing besides the pandemic that's been in the news over the last few months is the unrest within within a lot of communities. Minneapolis obviously was hit very hard. You're a former police officer. There's been a lot of talk about is there or isn't there systematic racism within police forces? Should we defund the police? From somebody that lived that life from the inside, what do you think where do we go from here? And are those accusations correct that there is institutional racism within these police forces?
Well, I'll say this. I think there's, probably certain forms of racism in every walk of life that's undeniable. But I can only speak for my father, and who was a Chicago police officer for 30 years, and myself, who was a Chicago police officer for 12 years. Especially in Chicago, it's a very diverse community. Listen, I never had a complaint from an African American, accusing me of, brutality or verbal abuse or anything like that. I would say that 99.9% of policemen go to work that don't have prejudice, that want to do a good job, that never want to take their weapon out and actually have to use it. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to go to work and shoot anybody. So I would say, yeah, I mean, are there things that need to be structurally changed within police departments? Probably. But, the defund the police thing, I mean, to me, that is absolutely crazy. If you're a battered woman and you need to call somebody, you're not going to send a psychologist or a therapist over to arrest the bad guy. Some people are being assaulted on the streets, just numerous crimes. And listen, people that are in lower income communities where there's gangs or drug dealing and everything else going on, believe me, they don't want less police. They want more police.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And one last question to end on a happier note. Sports are back, which is great. I know you're a big Cubs fan, and Marquee, the home of the Cubs channel, is owned by Sinclair, the company that owns us. So we love the Cubs. And what are your thoughts with sports coming back? Have you been happy with the way it's been rolled out, or what do you think of NBA's back, baseball, football? What are your thoughts as a fan?
I mean, obviously, I'm a big sports fan, and I really into baseball. I love baseball. My son's a baseball player, so I love watching baseball and football. But listen, it is different when there's no fans in the stands. I mean, and they pump in that music to me, which is even odder because it's like you see nobody in the stands, and then you have all this cheering, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, like, listen, we're doing our show with the audience. We're not pumping in audience reaction. I think people understand what's going on. So I am glad about baseball being back. I didn't like all the changes where, like, here the Astros almost went to the World Series. They have a losing record. I mean, that would have been, a tragedy if that would have happened. But I'm glad sports are. I like watching the NFL football. But it is different when the stands, I know football, a lot of stadiums, they're letting, partial audiences. I can't wait. I hope and pray by next year that there's some kind of vaccine and we can get back to normal and the stands will be filled and I can actually go to a baseball game and, watch my Cubs. And, last year was the first opening day I haven't seen in 35 years. So that was a big change for me. So I hope we can get back to doing the things that we like. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree with you more. Steve Wilkos, thanks so much for being with us. Twin Cities, make sure you watch the Steve Wilkos Show. We're in season 14, 2 o'clock, weekdays right here on the CW Twin Cities. Thanks, Steve.
All right, take care.